Hello everyone, welcome to BetterTech. So today we have a very special guest with us. So we have with us Ofer. So Ofer, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time out, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yeah, it's right. And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right, awesome. So Ofer, before we really get started, can you go ahead tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Ofer Klein. I'm the co-founder CEO of Reco. It's a US-based company with dev, AI, and data analytics in Israel. We're about 40 people, and we are in the collaboration security space.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so can you tell us a bit about your product? Like you mentioned, you are in AI space. You also touch the topic of security. So, what your product is all about? What does it do? How it's helping the users?
Sure. So, the background of what we do starts long years ago, where Darwin said that in order to survive as, species, you have to collaborate. And when you look at the modern enterprise, before the remote workforce, and especially after, people have to collaborate to create value. You cannot go to the office anymore 100% of the time, 100% of the people. Something needs to be created. And luckily for all of us who have Microsoft Teams and OneDrive and Slack and G Drive, we have amazing tools that were boosted by the remote workforce. Mm-hmm. But then the question is, this is essential for the business because then I accelerate 30% my business and I'm going to be more effective. But how do I regain the control that I just lost? How do I regain the visibility that I had when I walked around the office and I saw everybody? I knew exactly what's happening. You don't have it today in the office. And we got it from an AI and technology perspective to help the modern enterprise collaborate more securely.
Mm-hmm. So, how does AI really come into the play? So, for example, if people are communicating through Slack or they are communicating through Teams, right? So these are all very good collaboration tools that you have highlighted. So how does AI actually helps or sits in the middle to secure these collaboration tools?
Right. So what we do is basically understand the business before we try to protect it. So it's an agentless solution. You just install it within 10 to 20 minutes. And the first thing we do is take the metadata out of all of the collaboration tools. It's not about Slack by itself or OneDrive or email or calendar by itself. So the collaboration, actually 45% of communication today within the company are way beyond email. It's a mix of Jira and Slack and Gmail or Microsoft or any other. So the concept is to understand the collaboration map, how people communicate and collaborate between each other. And out of that, to try to understand what is justified and what is not justified. I'll give you an example. The old tools where you have static rules, you say, hey, Joe just shared the very sensitive information externally. Boom. Now the security team has to check it. In collaboration, you have that all the time. We communicate externally all the time. So how do you know if it's justified or not? We build a collaboration map where all of the people and all of the communication. So in this case, you see Joe, for example, is a patent attorney, and he works with an external patent attorney who is a vendor, and they have 5 meetings, 3 Slack messages. The entire team is working together. This is my business job of creating value to the company. Don't stop it. So we take it from the business element and ask, why did something happen? And the AI portion is actually to collaborate or correlate, between all of those channels and to apply justification.
Right. And also, Ofer, you touched upon the topic of like enterprise communication or collaboration, right? Very large scale enterprises, basically. Teams, they basically communicate among themselves. They talk to the customers, they talk to other teams, they talk to other departments, other stakeholders. It could be really anyone, right? They talk to the customers as well many times.
Yeah.
And these tools primarily, which we are using these days, are basically cloud-based, right? So the communication that we are already doing is going out of our network or out of our org anyways, right? Because there is cloud in the mix. Yeah. So how this communication can be secured, or it would be secure enough for us to say that we are in safe hands?
Right. So basically, companies today have 2 options and everything in between. The first one to say security is the most important thing. I don't care about the business. I'm going to stop everything and I'm going to be 100% secure. No company could survive doing that. The other way is saying I'm going to be blindfolded. I don't care about compliance, risk, security. Do whatever you want. Everything is going to be fine. Unfortunately, there are bad people out there. You cannot do that as well. And most companies that collaborate fast and they are fast moving companies, the bar between business and security always goes first to the business. Number one priority, enable the business, let them go. And then how can we make it more controllable and secure? So that's exactly what we do. If you understand why things happen, if you share data on the wrong Slack channel, for example, and you can stop it right away, or you can stop it even within a few minutes, eventually the people get better awareness to see the risk to the going down, and the company becomes more secure. You don't have the luxury anymore, as you had 20 years ago, of stopping and just saying security is the most important thing. So actually understanding the business is the key.
Right. Right. And also, I mean, there are cloud-based tools, right? And then now there are more open things coming on blockchain, for example, right? Where we have tokens, where the data is sort of replicated on different nodes. I mean, you can basically suggest that a certain message is valid or not in terms of its hash key, right? I mean, really figuring out that who was the person who sent the message, who the recipient was the message forged, and then you can collect all that information just to be sure. Now we are talking about more openness in not just in the cloud but on a chain as well. So where do you think, I mean, this particular concept of blockchain can come in, and then how tools like yours can basically have these things secured as well?
Yeah, so we're not securing the blockchain yet, to be honest. We
All
are,
right.
this is a long time ahead. We started with securing the collaboration in the enterprise because what you just described in the blockchain, actually it happens in the modern enterprise. Decentralization, empowering the team, allowing the teams to have control, to share, to buy SaaS tools, and to communicate with vendors, customers, and contractors. So it's exactly as the decentralization just described in blockchain, that we enable those teams to have visibility, to understand what happens, but also to allow the business to run. For example, what is my data exposure to a vendor? I don't work with this vendor anymore. I don't know who he is. Sometimes I have hundreds. If you have it in one centralized place and you have a very simple alert mechanism, then you can do that with empowered teams as well.
Right. So essentially, what we are really discussing here is basically collaboration security as we speak, right?
Exactly.
Securing the collaboration tools, and then we have like a data loss as well, right? For example, I mean, some people they can basically take over the data, or maybe when they leave an organization, they take the data along, right? So there's a data loss or data breach, as we can say.
Yes.
So what's the key difference between the two? I mean, because at the end of the day, if, for example, through collaboration tools, if we have our customers in the collaboration tool and then they basically took this data away, it's going to be a data loss. So where these two basically collide or have a commonality, and what's the difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the legacy data security tools are built from the ground up, which means here's a person, this is his or her access. Here's I'm going to apply a rule that if you send it externally, for example, this is a big no-no and I'm going to stop it. It was great when we were in the office, everything was on-prem. It was very simple. Now everything is not normal anymore. So companies actually that we work with, they have thousands of alerts, which we filter as 99% of false positives. You cannot understand what is right and what is wrong just by applying static tools and static rules when you have collaboration in place. So the main difference is to start by analyzing the business and then going backwards to ask why something happens. And to find the justification, we see the accuracy. Again, it's 99% false positive versus a very low false positive. And the second thing is how easy it is to onboard and maintain. Those tools take between 6 to 24 months, depending on the size of the company, to tag the data, to understand what it is, which you don't have to do if you have the AI and the collaboration security in place.
All right, all right. Okay. So another question that basically comes into the mind is that there is a lot of compliance related stuff going on. So, for example, we have GDPR, then we have the California Data Act as well. So, do you think that these items, I mean, these compliance rules basically help in collaboration security?
Yeah, so there's always a trade-off between compliance and the business. As a business, I want to run quickly and I don't care about compliance, and compliance doesn't care about the business and just want to make sure that our privacy is kept and PII and stuff like that. So this tension will be kept. The main issue is, how do you provide the tools to the enterprise to be compliant, but to keep the business running? So, for example, if you know what data is exposed with your customer, and the compliance actually forces you to have traceability, then it's a win-win. The customer is happy and compliance is happy as well. It doesn't have to be contradictory if you have the right visibility, such as Reco provides, for example.
Sure. So, I mean, what are some of the best practices which organizations can basically practice, or put in motion to basically ensure that the collaboration is secure?
Yeah, so we divide it into several elements. The first one is visibility. If you don't see, you don't protect it. Many people said it like many years ago, but in collaboration, the visibility includes many channels. So the first and foremost, understand what is happening, what people are doing, how does paying salaries look like, and how does working with the customer look like. Visibility. The second area is detection. Now you need to detect things that poses risk, compliance, or data loss to your company. For example, I take the public, in a public company, I take the announcement to the stock market ahead of time, and I just put it on the internet. This is something you shouldn't do. Okay. The second one is detection, and always the third comes as the remediation. How could you very effectively stop that? And in collaboration, it's very unique that the security event does not happen within security. I'm from legal, marketing, sales. I just share data. It's not in security. Security doesn't know. So we call it make them accountable. How can you allow the business owners fix it? Because everybody makes mistakes. You cannot avoid it. So those three elements, if you do it right and if you do it very effectively, allows collaboration to be secured, but the business to run as well.
All right. All right. Okay. So, off topic a bit, but what has been your journey to start this collaboration security company, and what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, so actually my two co-founders are coming from the Israeli FBI. I'm coming from the Air Force, and I had another company, and the problem that they faced there is that the data was encrypted. How can I stop hostile activity when everything is encrypted? And what they have built, the concept for many years, was a metadata graph over the scale of millions of people. And just by analyzing the patterns, they built a graph without reading the content, and to effectively stop terror attacks. They won the Israeli Defense Award. You can think of it as you have Wikipedia pages with no content. You just have the title and links. So this title is Apple, and it links to tomato and banana. And the other one, you don't have any content, you don't know it, and it links to other fruits. Eventually, you know the content without reading it. So that's what we do. We use metadata to build the graph, the same concept as my co-founders, Gal and Tal, basically developed over the last few years.
Okay. And you talked about your journey in the Air Force, right? So you were in the Air Force. So were you like a fighter pilot, or you were some of the ground staff, or you were directly involved in information exchange?
So I was a helicopter pilot, and then I worked in a large defense electronic company. Then I had my own IoT automation company, and then I led go-to-market teams in another SaaS-based company in New York. So a long journey of entrepreneurship. And my two co-founders, and actually a large amount of the company, comes from the intelligence forces in their background. So many, many years in cybersecurity, as attackers, as defenders, as many positions. So we have hundreds of cumulative years of experience in the company in those elements.
Okay. And also, in your particular case, this app that you have developed, right, or the solution that you offer to customers, how does it integrate with the tools that are already in place? So, for example, if a company is using Microsoft Teams, someone else is using Slack, someone else is using Zoom. So how that works?
Yeah, so we connect to metadata only, and we connect to the API, the audit log API. It takes between 15 to 20 minutes, the entire integration, just a few clicks, and we take metadata only. Actually, Reco is the only tool today in this space that doesn't read the content. You don't need to share your sensitive information to protect it anymore. So it takes about 15 to 20 minutes. Then we crunch everything into a graph, and then we present it to the companies without them having to do anything. No definition of processes or policies. Everything comes out of the box, including the value.
So, I mean, since you have been implementing this tool in various organizations, what are some of the key challenges that those users actually have talked to you about? Like for example, why they think that collaboration security is important and why they should have it in their company?
Yeah, so we divided into three main elements that we heard from customers, and we talked to hundreds of companies already. The first one is third-party data shared. So, for example, it could be customers, vendors, contractors, etc. I have data shared with them, or they shared it with me, like customers. I need to have traceability. I need to understand what happens, and if something is shared with the risk, I want to make sure I stop it. That's one element. The second one is financial, legal, HR data. For example, salaries. For example, agreements with people that could be shared internally and externally in a risky way. And the third one is employees leaving the company. And employees leaving the company is not about spying on someone, because some of the elements in collaboration, and we heard that in many customers, people delete a lot of data as well. So I'm leaving the company. I'm not sure sure what's happening. I'm going to delete thousands of files. And I don't know who to push it later. As a manager, Joe left. What should I do with the data left? And of course, 60% of people in the US also take data. So the main element is third-party data. And we hear it again and again, no visibility and no control. And that's the main element.
Okay. And I mean, before we conclude, I mean, would you like to say what your thoughts are on collaboration security and why do you think it's important and how organizations can basically incorporate that into their communication culture to keep the communication open and secure at the same time?
Yeah, so I'm very excited about collaboration in general. So I'm very happy about the exponential growth of collaboration. It allows all of us to basically to create value easier from home, from a vacation, from the office. And this is here to stay, and we see it growing. I totally believe in the concept, and I totally believe it's growing and continue to grow. Having said that, we don't have the luxury of not securing it. All of our sensitive information, sensitive people processes are there, and it's just going to accelerate. So the only way to allow the company to run as it should is to gain the visibility, control, and the security to allow the business to continue. And therefore, I think more and more companies, like we had the cloud, on-prem to cloud, now we see closed companies opening up to collaboration. And the companies are doing it, have the benefit of 30% more effective. So the more companies that will collaborate, the easier it will be to create value, but the easier it will be to hack those. And that's exactly what we help with.
Right. And also, I mean, in this age, remote work is coming to be a norm, right? So, for example, I mean, more and more companies are going remote first, and especially developers, especially technical people, they basically prefer working remotely from the comfort of their homes, or I mean, previously it was like an onshore team, and then there was an offshore team, but now, I mean, in many cases, people prefer working remotely. So where do you think the collaboration security basically fits into there? Because I mean, in offices, like you can have firewalls, you can have other things to control like what data is going out of the organization. But when working remotely, it's like really difficult to keep a tab. So how do you think that organizations can basically secure that sort of communication channel?
Yeah, so it really depends on the level of communication and collaboration within every company. Some companies cannot collaborate because they are highly, for example, government enterprises. But the more and the faster you move, the more collaborative you are, you're exposed to more and more contractors, vendors, customers. Um, and I think it will be super relevant, and it is super relevant, both for companies in the office and out of the office. We just onboarded a public company. They have 2,500 public Slack channels. All of the vendors, customers, contractors, everyone is on Slack, whether you're in the office today or you're working from home or from offshore. So it's here to stay. And this amazing way of creating value and working is here to stay, and you need to make sure that you just get the control for it.
Sure. So, Ofer, I believe that's it for today, and we will be in touch with you to get you for some more insights on this topic or maybe some other one. And once again, thank you very much for taking the time out and speaking to the audience and sharing your thoughts on the topic.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Thanks. Have a good one, Ofer. Bye.
Bye-bye.